The trailer certainly implies that it is, and I'm sure that at least one of the fine people over in the marketing department of 20th Century Fox would be more than happy if you got that idea. For God's sake, even my local cinema's Facebook page marketed the film with the tagline, "Deadlier than a Black Widow." The question you're asking is Red Sparrow secretly the Black Widow movie we've always wanted? Since Iron Man 2, anyway. Here's the short answer. Oh God, no! That's a horrible idea. What's wrong with you? You should be ashamed of yourself. You're worse than Stalin. The long answer is actually kind of a bit, yeah, but not really. Look, it's complex. That's why we're going to break it down into 3 segments. This is going to be full of spoilers for Red Sparrow, obviously, and everything Marvel that Black Widow has appeared in. And some other things that I'll probably spoil accidentally, just to keep you on your toes. Firstly, and most obviously, Domenica Egorova becomes Natalia Romanoff. The 2 characters have a lot in common, let's be honest. We know that the Black Widow started young. Probably much younger than Jennifer Lawrence is in this movie when she gets her leg horrifically broken. But the basic idea can stay the same. Promising young ballerina, gets her leg broken by a sneaky Russian, gets revenge, goes too far, and fear of punishment leads her to the Red Room. Sorted. Unfortunately, with Scarlett Johansson in the lead, we may have to put up with the main character having a repertoire of more than one facial expression, but that's a sacrifice we can make. Nate Nash becomes Hawkeye. To be brutally honest, I didn't realise that Joel Edgerton wasn't Jeremy Renner until 93 minutes into Red Sparrow. Also, since this movie is essentially a giant flashback, this is before he meets his wife and settles down, so any possible nighttime activities between Black Widow and Hawkeye can be left as strongly implied. I can't be the only one who thinks they definitely had nighttime activities in their past, can I? The Russians. The bloody Russians. The main point of Red Sparrow seems to be alienating actual Russians. With that in mind, real-life Steppenwolf, Alfred, and young bloody Putin here have to go. They have actors in Russia who speak Russian. Hire them instead. Obviously, they would become some obscure characters from Black Widow's backstory. Let's say Ivan Petrovich, who I looked up on Wikipedia. Little side rant here for a moment. In Red Sparrow, everyone speaks English with a Russian accent, except every now and then they throw in a Russian phrase for no apparent reason. I've decided to form an internet-based alliance against this. Any scenes in which all of the characters are Russian should be performed in Russian. And not just Russian either, any language. If you're with me, we can make this change. These 3 random CIA dudes, they get replaced with Fury and Redford, if they're available. Of course, Fury will be in it. Samuel L. Jackson will take literally any role. Redford, maybe, but only if the nudity was handled tastefully. Look, Red Sparrow begins with Domenica being given a mission before she becomes a Sparrow. Natasha would have been way too young, so this is the biggest difference between the 2. In our Black Widow version of the movie, we see this scene as a framing device and then her Widow training as a flashback. So, back to Red Sparrow. Jennifer Lawrence's Fringe is given the task of seducing a possible enemy of the state so his phone can be switched out. But surprise! He's assassinated by this spooky blonde dude. In the Black Widow version, the enemy of the state is Drakov. Natasha is sent to assassinate him. When she gets him alone, she gets ready for the kill. The bathroom door creaks open. But it's not the creepy blonde dude, it's a creepy blonde lady. And she's pointing a gun in Natasha's direction. She says, "Sloppy, Romanoff. No witnesses." The camera pans around. Dreykov's daughter has wandered into the room. Blam! 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 Avengers throwback, baby! Obviously, we're having Romanoff kill the kid. She has to have red in the ledger. Look, despite what the trailers might have wanted to imply, Red Sparrow is not a sexy, action-packed spy movie. It's a grim, visceral, and sometimes horrific spy drama. Let's just say that having my skin peeled off with an electric cheese slicer is now in my top 10 list of things I don't want to happen. A Black Widow movie is also going to have as little rape as possible. If fan reaction to Age of Ultron showed us anything, it's that people don't want their lady heroes to be sexual victims in these films. I was looking back over the Black Widow appearances in MCU movies. Surely I wasn't alone in thinking she used seduction and sexual wiles to get what she needed. But there's very little evidence of that happening in the MCU movies. She mostly tricks idiots into thinking she's vulnerable, so they give her information. That means that instead of horrible, uncomfortable nudity in the Red Sparrow school, we see her learning seduction, weapons, that silly head scissors thing she does that wouldn't even hurt anyway, a dive roll, an American accent, and all the other important Black Widow-y things. Now, if this is going to be an MCU movie, it needs to be an action movie. So we need some action scenes. The easy one is a chase of Hawkeye by Russian soldiers to the American embassy right at the beginning. Just like Nash, he fires his gun to protect his contact, but then he has to do a parkour and ninja leap his way to freedom. Possibly the hardest scene to watch in Red Sparrow is when the assassin comes back for Nate. In the Black Widow movie, the blonde widow comes back for him. Just like in Red Sparrow, Natasha pretends to help him, but instead of a gruesome blade fight, we get a sexy Black Widow fight, with Hawkeye, this time, tied to the chair, trying his best to help. If the torture scenes stay, they have to be less obviously horrific. Marvel audiences don't even get the single use of fuck that Fox films give them. They definitely can't handle this. I'm not going to completely spoil this one. Let's just say that at the end, they're having the climactic prisoner exchange in Budapest. Barton has been ordered by Alexander Pierce, notorious bad egg, to take Natasha out after she's been sent to the other side. He notices that the Russians have also sent a sniper. He is a real hawk eye, after all. Put in a snare drum there, Mick. Don't get lazy and just leave this in. He makes a different call, throwback, and arrows Natasha's cuffs apart instead. The Russian sniper takes the shot, she does the best dive roll you've ever seen to get out of the way, and a huge gunfight breaks out at the airport in Budapest. This is the scene where we see Natasha and Clint starting to click with each other's fighting styles, even though they both remember it very differently.
I remember Budapest very differently.
The only other thing this needs to be a Marvel movie is a peppering of references. What about Robert Downey Jr.'s real mugshot being shown in the Sparrow School when they talk about the decadent West? Or we definitely need to see a folder somewhere with a design for a bionic arm or the words Winter Soldier printed on it. Someone definitely has to whisper Hail Hydra at some stage. Who? Who knows? This guy probably. So, what do you think? Are these two films closely related enough that Red Sparrow could have been the greatest Black Widow film ever made? What other changes would you make, given complete creative control over the project? Or are the tone and genre just too different for it to ever work? Let us know in the comments below. Oh, and while you're here, give us a like, a share, or a subscribe. Or even better, let your comic book nerd friends know about this channel. If you're listening, they'll probably enjoy it too. We also do a podcast every week. Ben is in the podcast too, but look, he's not too bad when you get used to him. Thanks for listening. You're real sound.